So as I sometimes say in the family service, although I will try not to speak quickly, I do ask you to listen quickly. And away we go. For a long time, longer than average in our country, I did not know what it was like to have a cavity in a tooth. And for a shorter than average amount of time in our country, I did not know what it was like to have a root canal. While this experience was not part of my 2020, root canals do seem to fit right in, don't they? But other than one bum tooth, I've been really fortunate. There are so many things I can only imagine because unlike dental surgery, I've never been through so much of what so many are dealing with or what they have overcome during this strange year or any other. I don't know what it is like to look at a computer with a sense of trepidation and anxiety. If I asked you to raise your hand if the first time you were on Zoom was in the last 6 months, many hands would go up in the air. I could ask you to say yes if you have experienced a technical problem that at first you had no idea how to navigate. If you wondered if you would ever get online or stay online. If you had to fully rely on someone else's knowledge or expertise to get that screen glowing with what you wanted to be there before you knew how to do it yourself. Don't sell yourself short. Take that same hand you raised and pat yourself on the back. We applaud you, and we think you're amazing. I've never had to worry about food. Even though I can't cook and I know that heating up veggie burgers doesn't count, I don't know what it is like to live in a food desert where healthy or fresh options do not exist, or have to worry that my benefits will run out before the end of the month and I'll have to scrimp or eat junky fast food. And worse, that will be all I can afford to give my children. Yom Kippur is a holiday of many ideas, and acknowledging food insecurity while we are full tonight and hungry tomorrow is one of them. I have not lost anyone I love to COVID-19. While I know what it is like to worry and to worry intensely about close family members who did contract this novel virus and who suffered with it, none of them died. So I don't know personally what it is to wonder if that death could have been prevented, to be haunted not for a day or a week, but for the rest of my life by loss maybe of someone who died alone, or someone who believed this to be less of a deadly health crisis than it actually is, or was the victim of public policy that failed to adequately safeguard their life, or who had to work in an unsafe environment either because their work was necessary or because they had no other resources to put food on the table while I could shelter safely in place. We must not forget. In fact, we must actively remember all who were lost and all who put themselves in harm's way to deliver the mail, to stock the grocery shelves, to maintain public transportation, to patrol the streets, and of course, to give medical care. I don't know what it's like to need the social safety net to catch me, or when it does, to find it to be woefully underfunded. To not be able to get medical care for myself, or get my kids to a doctor or dentist, or to break pills in half so they last. To be dependent on dwindling unemployment checks, despite wanting to work, even as the rent comes due. I don't have a child who missed a major graduation, had a bar or bat mitzvah delayed, a wedding postponed, all the things they looked forward to about senior year in high school or college that they missed entirely. But I do want to identify their pain and their loss as real, and to not let this holiday go by without saying that we see you. We are sorry this has been your reality. And like your parents and grandparents who had to adjust beyond what they could have imagined, we know that you have had to exercise tremendous flexibility and find the resilience you needed to make this time productive. We are proud of you. Each of our individual experiences are unique, and many are blessed beyond what we might have ever thought to ask, lest it make us sound greedy. And many lack specific blessings for which they pray on these holy days, with health or a return to it very much on all of our minds. We know these 25 hours are about building a bridge between who we are and who we would like to be. But it is also a holy day of bridging the gap in thought and feeling between my strongly considered opinions and personal preferences toward at least a better understanding of that which I find difficult to hear. If I cannot try to do that for others, how can I possibly expect them to do it for me? I can't know or fully feel their experience. But with rare exception, Judaism teaches me that empathy is possible and even required, because I have in my spiritual DNA so many different genes that allow me to identify with every disadvantaged, hungry, and affronted individual or collective. I am, and you are, the spiritual descendant of wanderers and refugees, and so I can and must empathize with today's displaced people wherever they are. I was a slave to Pharaoh in Egypt and was freed to receive a Torah at Sinai that emphasizes interpersonal ethics together with specifically Jewish concerns. I heard the call of the prophets to justice and fairness, and I have been the disadvantaged person in between, not fitting in here or there. I was a stranger in a strange land over and over again, so I have to be as welcoming and open-hearted as I am able to be as others establish their roots in my adopted home. I heard the voice of King and Heschel, and I took a risk to participate in every major march for equality and movement for inclusive social change. As I have suffered, though, so have I celebrated, graduated, achieved, learned, bought, built, sold, donated, and excelled. I have been welcomed, embraced, complimented, awarded, and rewarded. I have been elected, appointed, and confirmed, and I have served and fought with distinction, and I have been deemed worthy of respect. And because of those ingrained collective memories, we can genuinely share in the joy of others as they make progress along their pathway, and demonstrate what it is to actively affirm the value of living a life that is worthy of blessing. We feel validation in sharing what we think because our opinions are the right ones. But we will make progress only when we are able to recognize that everyone else thinks theirs are as well. And so we have to listen to the voice and also feel the pain and joy of another as if it is our own. We are better able to do that because so often it has been our own, through our long Jewish story, of which you are at this moment an irreplaceable chapter. This is not an easy charge, not for me and not for you. There is so much out there we find unacceptable, misguided, untruthful, even destructive. Of course, we will decry violence and incitement to violence, anti-Semitism, racism, misogyny, and other forms of sinat chinam, baseless hatred. But if we are to get to the better future we seek, we cannot count on convincing or annihilating even those whose statements and values we find objectionable. So I'm asking you, please, this season, this year, to speak, debate, represent, advocate, and argue respectfully, to peacefully act on your strongly considered opinions and positions. And I am asking you to do that while really imagining what it would be like to stand in someone else's shoes. As a result, you will probably not change your views, but this thought experiment will help you to understand and maybe respect someone else's a little better. Over Yom Kippur, let's commit to, if you are willing, and after Yom Kippur, let's put into practice, as we are able, the radical empathy that is possible because of all that we have been through and all that we are now privileged to share with a world in need of an infusion of this specific kind of love. Shana Tova, Gemar Chatima Tova.